Welcome back to this Sask Volleyball broadcast of the 13U Girls Final. We have the HVC Volleyball Club out of Saskatoon, far court in the black jerseys with the green trim, taking on the BVC Heat out of the Battlefords in the forefront. Black jerseys with the purple trim, BVC set to work here. As serving will be Jada Wilkinson. Head coach Regan Lavallee, assistant coach Cliff Lavallee, leading his 13U squad to the finals here. Jaden Wilkinson to serve here to kick off the first set of the finals. Ryan Schweitzer along with Lee Hamilton bringing you the action. That serve will careen out of bounds. HVC will get a break there. And set to serve will be Jada Duchesne. Ball comes into play. And unable to clear that over the net was Abby Raish. And now the ball will come in from the HVC side of the court. Coach throws the ball in, hoping to encourage the 3 hits there. That goes out of bounds and back on the Battleford side of things.
That's a triple ball.
Or rather, HVC serving now. Set to serve, Taylor Swiston. And that's sent over by Rach. 3 hits now from HVC. Sent over, Wilkinson now. And sent over by Fouth. 3 hits coming from HVC. And that ball gently sent over the net by Lexi Wasmuth. And point goes to BVC out of Battlefords. Ryan Schweitzer along with Lee Hamilton bringing you the action here in this 13U Girls Final. Coach brings the ball into play. Wasmuth hits it over. Wasmuth, a tall presence at the net for BVC in the forefront of your screen. As that ball sent over by Abby Rach. Heads out of bounds. And a 3-2 lead for JVC. Coach is throwing the ball in. For people new to the 13U girls, explain when the coaches toss the ball in there.
So the rule, they play what's called triple ball. Just in order to improve the style of play, just because 13-year-old girls, they're not the strongest right now, and so to improve rather than having a ton of missed serves just into the net all the time, this just helps they're able to kind of set up what their offense and really just have a nice easy toss for the girls to work on the three most important skills and not just have this game be a battle of serve and who can serve the hardest, because if it was just based on serving, this would be a pretty long game for both the fans, the players, and the referees.
So now HVC coach will toss to HVC, triple ball style. Ball hit to the back of the court, just a little bit out there. As hitting that ball hard was Taylor Leach. 4-4 the score. Wilkinson, as they set up Wasmuth at the net, big presence there, sent over. And Lexi Wasmuth, a presence at the net thus far, giving her team a 5-4 lead. HVC will serve now. Taylor Petrus sends that ball into play. Out of bounds. Petrus gets the point. 5-5 here in the 13U final. BVC coach tosses it to Wilkinson. And again, they set up Wasmuth. And again, Wasmuth delivers. That's turning into a play that's almost automatic with Wasmuth, a big presence in the middle there.
Yeah, she's a big, tall girl in the middle there. She almost doesn't even need to jump to hit the ball over, which is a pretty big advantage at this age.
HVC, 3-hit play sent over the net by Jada Duchesne. And HVC gets the point. 6-6 the score. Back and forth between these two teams. And serving for BVC Abby Raish. Just over. And countered by BVC. Punched over the net by Reese Pillar. And 3 hits for HVC. Wasmuth tips it over. HVC recovers. And 2 players, miscommunication there. 7-6, BVC takes the lead. Ball comes into play. Hit by Jessica Armstrong. 3 hits and a nice play there by Jada Duchesne. 7-7.
Yeah, nice swing by her. She saw the line was open and she turned down the line in a nice swing.
Faith to Wasmuth. And Pillar sends it over. Diving save there by HVC and unable to dig that out of the net after that strong play by Taylor Petrus to dive for that ball. 8-7, HVC leads it. And HVC will serve now. Taylor Leach heading back. Leach sends it into play. Wilkinson, Wasmuth, Pillar. Great diving play there by Petrus. HVC sends it over. Pillar at the net, punches it over. Petrus calls for it. Sent over by Leach, or sent over to Armstrong, who hits it over. And that ball bumped over by Duchesne. Wasmuth now to Pillar. Backcourt, good rally going between these two teams. Some jousting at the net, and it lands on the HVC side. It's a point for Battleford. And these two teams trading points, 8-8 the score.
Yeah, it's a very back and forth contest here. Pretty typical of a gold medal final. Look for both of these teams to just keep scrapping it out throughout the day, or throughout the match.
That ball was in as it was hit over by Pillar. And 9-8 the score. Petrus. And sent over by Duchesne. Raish dives for it. Wasmuth sends it over. Duchesne sending that one just out of reach of her teammate. And it's a 10-8 score. Lexi Wasmuth to serve. Wasmuth puts that ball into play, played by Armstrong. HVC unable to get to that for a second hit, and it's a 3-point lead for BVC. Petrus. And sent over by Friesen. Pillar at the net. Sends it over. Diving play by Petrus. And it looked like one of the HVC players were on the net there. So now opening up a little bit of a lead now is BVC, 12-8.
Yeah, they're starting to keep their errors to a minimum, and which is allowing them to score more points than the other team.
Rach. Sent to Swiston. Eventually set up her teammate to send it over. That ball's going to sail out of bounds there. Hit out of bounds by Zaleschuk, and 13-8 the score. Timeout being called by HVC. What do you know about these two teams meeting up in the final here? BVC out of Battlefords and HVC from Saskatoon.
I don't know too much about these teams. I'm very new to the, obviously 13U is the first division, so there hasn't been much history. But they're here in the final, so they had to have had some success along the way. HVC suffered a bit of a roster blow. A girl on their team actually suffered a concussion in one of their games yesterday, so their roster's down a little bit, but doesn't seem to be too much of a hindrance right now. BVC, they look like a strong, fundamentally strong team. They're passing as well. They keep their errors to a minimum, which is really good to see.
And at this level, the most important thing is having things like this. You know, the clapping routine and the chants and stuff. All about having fun, and it looks like girls on both sides are having that right now. 13-8, the score. And serving for HVC will be Elena Zalischek. Zalischuk sends it into play, played by Faith. Pillar. And sent over the net by Wilkinson. HVC gets it back. Wilkinson. Pillar. And back to Wilkinson. Played by Zalischuk. Hit! A little bit too far by Emma Friesen. And it's 14-8 BVC. BVC coach sends it in. Rach Wasmuth. And Wilkinson. Good 3-hit volleyball there by BVC. And they're ahead now by 7.
Yeah, she was able to find a spot on the floor. Not much of a block thrown up on that, so she was able to kind of free swing, and she found the spot.
Nice play there by Emma Friesen to just send that over top of the block. And it'll be a point for HVC. .59, or Battleford serving now, my mistake. Swiston in to serve. Good serve by Swiston. Underhand and just clearing the net. Sent over by Friesen. Swiston bumps it over the net. 3 hits now coming from HVC. Friesen hits it. Wasmuth just off the hands on a good hit by Friesen. And 15-10 the score. HVC creeping back into this one, this gold medal final here at the Hank Rise Soccer Center. Leach. Bumped over by Friesen. Pushed back by Wilkinson of the Battlefords. Now Friesen with it. Gets that ball to Duchesne, who bumps it over for HVC. And now Wilkinson! Good hit by Wilkinson. Finding some open court.
Yeah, the back corner is one of those spots that if you're able to find it, you can usually score, and she did a great job of finding the deep corner on that one.
16-10, Wasmuth. Pillar, and they'll try Wilkinson again, this time a little bit too far. And 16-11 the score. Serving will be Jada Duchesne. Duchesne, Wilkinson, Pillar, and Faith Farsize battling at the net with Friesen. And the point will go the way of HVC, 12-16 now. Wasmuth will start play. Pillar and Wilkinson. Just a nice cheeky tip by Wilkinson there.
Yeah, she learned from her last swing that she had out the back that she might try and change things up a bit, and she made the right decision on that one.
17-12. Friesen gets that ball up and sent over by Petrus. And now Wilkinson again with it. Goes back to the tip. This time HVC recovers. Sends it over. And a good job by Jessica Armstrong to get that over the net. No answer from the BVC side. And it's 13-17. Athlete will serve now. As Reese Pillar heads to the service area. And 14-17. HVC coach will toss to her athletes as they look to set up Jessica Armstrong, but just unable to get good footing there is Armstrong. 14-18.
Yeah, she just couldn't get her feet set there, and the ball just sailed over her head.
Swiston dug out of the net by Wilkinson and then pushed over by Pillar. Good recovery by BVC. Now they try to set up Petrus. However, it looked as though someone from BVC was on the net, so 15-18 the score. And serving for HVC will be Emma Friesen. HVC down 3. 15-18 the score. That ball is going to sail out of bounds. 19-15. BVC lead. They'll have the ball tossed their way. Swiston, Wilkinson, Faith, 3 hits. Sent up and sent over by Petrus. Pillar, jousting at the net. Wilkinson recovers. Bit too many hands on the ball there consecutively. And HVC's coach induces play. Duchesne, first hit. Oh. And point for HVC.
You don't see many of those clipping the tape on a scramble play and just barely sneaking over.
$17-19. Wilkinson to serve. Jaden Wilkinson. HVC pushing that ball over. Taylor Leach. And nobody able to get to that in time. HVC coming back after trailing a few in this one. They are now only down by 1, 18-19 the score. And unable to send that over the net is Taylor Leach. And 20-18. BVC coach will bring the ball into play. Pillar. Tipped over the net by Fouth. Wasmuth, and Fouth sends it back over. Wilkinson sends that to Raish. Raish sends it over. Collision at the net there by a couple of HVC athletes. 21-18 the score. HVC will serve. Jessica Armstrong. Into the net, and 22-18.
Yeah, tough miss there. Coming up to the end of the set here, you don't want to try and give away too many free points.
Pillar, Wilkinson, and Wasmuth at the net. Tips it over. Wasmuth stays off the net. And 23-18. BVC that much closer to taking this first set. That's sent over the net. And a bit too far by Leach. Good take by BVC, and they're within 1 point of taking the first set here.
Yeah, they really limited their errors here at the end, and HVC's kind of shooting themselves in the foot. Couple key errors that at some inopportune times.
In to serve is Lexia Fouth. Sends that over the net. Played by HVC. Pushed over the net by Leach. Wasmuth at the net. Tough to contend with, however, unable to recover the Battlefords, and HVC will live for another point here in the first set, 19-24. Friesen. And Leach sends it over. Battlefords. And Leach pushes it. Faith. Wasmuth. Sends it straight down. Recovered. Nice play by Friesen to keep that alive. Wasmuth at the net. Hits it just a little bit too far. And HVC still alive and kicking in the first set here.
Yeah, probably the best rally of the match there that we had. Lots of good plays from both sides, and fortunately Wilkinson she just put it out the back there.
Wilkinson, Rach, and Wasmuth, and that's what the doctor ordered for BVC. They take the first set 25-20. What was the difference in that one?
They kept their errors to a minimum, and when they put the ball in play, they put HVC in trouble. They didn't put it to the player. They put it to a spot where they weren't, and made HVC have to move move to contact the ball. So really putting them in a lot of trouble.
First set win for BVC out of the Battlefords, 25-20. First set win is BVC. The Heat look to take gold back to Battleford. As after this game, they have that hour-long drive down the Highway 16. They'd like to make it a happy one with gold medals around their necks. HVC set to serve first here. Yep. Play induced. And 3 hits sent over by Maya Lavalley. HVC with the ball. They send it back. However, no answer coming from the BVC side of the court. And it's going to be a quick 2-0 lead for the HVC Husky Volleyball Club. Triple ball rules. Coach induces play by tossing it in. Sent into the net. And a point for BVC. And it'll be a 1-2 score. BVC to serve. Janae Head. (13U) girls final. Head gets that ball into play. Sent right back by HVC. And sent over by Kayla Ballner. No answer as that was sent over the net by Ballner. And 2-2 the score. HVC coach induces play. Tipped to the net by Ballner. Nobody going after that ball there. And BVC gets another point. It'll be 3-2. BVC coach starts play. Lavalley. And tipped over. Great play at the net by Kalnia Ballner. And 4-2 the score. HVC will serve now. As heading to the service area is Emma Friesen. Friesen, strong player for the Huskies in the first game. 2 serving 4. Played by Ballner. And sent over the net. Good heads-up play there on the Battlefords by Erica Nickel. Just finding some open court. 5-2. Battleford's up to a quick 3-point lead here. Their coach will toss the ball in here. And that ball pushed over by Nickel. HVC with it. And pushed back by Leach. On the net and making the block there is Annika Huber. However, she's on the net. Point will go the way of BVC. 6-2 the score. HVC tosses the ball in. Played made there by Jaden Sukachov. Ballner with it. Setting up her teammate Nickel. Nickel gets it over the net. And Battleford's out to a quick 7-2 lead here.
Yeah, it's the start you want coming after the first set. Try and build up as big of a lead as you can. And if you're HVC, you don't want to fall into too big a hole here because it's pretty tough to climb out of, and once you're down the first set, you obviously don't want to fall too big of a hole because it's hard to come back from.
Love the energy on the BVC bench right now. Coaches are getting into it. They're moving around and keeping the team energized. It's a long weekend, and I mean, how key is that? The coach is the ringleader there. You can see her bouncing up and down with her team, just trying to keep the girls active after a long weekend.
Yeah, I really think she's preaching fundamentals with that one out there. This BVC team, they've got choreographed cheers, they've got choreographed celebrations, so I mean, it's fun to watch, and it's part of the game at this level. The kids, if they're not out there having fun, they won't want to keep playing it. So any way you can have the girls having fun with a smile on their face, it's a positive.
Surprised you don't see more of the choreographed cheers at the Olympic level. At what age does that stop?
It's still around in 16U a little bit, but I think once you get up to the 18Us, they still have cheers and stuff, but it's definitely more intense environment on the court.
Girls out here having fun in this one, and especially BVC. 7-3 the score now. Sukachev plays that. Now Leach over the net, just over the tape. That changeup that comes from the ball just falling over the tape, always effective. And 7-4 the score now. Sent in, played by Head. Tipped over, and a good heads-up play at the net by Olivia Brew. And 8-4 the score.
Yeah, they're keeping it close here. Try not to let them get too far ahead. Been about a 4-point gap. BVC opened up from the start of the set, and they're hoping to keep that type of spread.
Logan Petrus is now serving for HVC. Petrus gets play going. One hit back over the net. And Taylor Leach with the carry there, called by the official. 9-4 in this second set. BVC taking the first set, 25-20. They'll look for 3 hits here. Head. Baller. Sent over and sent right back. Baller at the net, tips it over. Baller with some crafty plays at the front of the net. Sent back by Head. And sent over the net eventually by Olivia Brew. Pushed over by Annika Huber. And unable to get to that ball on the other side of the net. Anyone from BVC, 9-5 the score as we see some more good rallies here.
Yeah, the rallies are getting long, and the teams are grinding it out there. They're just really putting the ball in play and allowing the other team to make the error.
Emma Friesen, first hit. Sent over the net by Huber. Third hit, sent over by Nickel. Third hit by HVC, Nickel. Baller. Far side Brew. Some good rallies here. And nice delivery there as sending that in was Addison Chapman. Bouncing it off the block, 9-6 the score. BVC, far court with the purple trim. Still in the lead. Kalnia Baller to serve. Baller with a strong game at the net. We'll see what she can do serving here. Played there by Sukachev. And sent over by HVC. BVC sending that ball right in the back corner there. Great heads-up play at the net.
Yeah, that was a great shot by the player there, and just catching the line. It would be interesting to see like a Hawkeye replay of that to see how much of the ball just caught the line.
Hawkeye may be in the budget for next year as that ball just out of bounds. And in a back and forth game, 7-10 the score. HVC trailing BVC. BVC plays the ball. Baller. Sent over, and a good play there by Taylor Nolan. Now Head with it. Baller chases it down. And that's helped over the net by Brew. And Brew with a heads-up play to put her team up by 4.
Yeah, great shot. As I mentioned earlier, the corner is one of those spots that's always open, and she did a great job of putting some pace on the ball and finding the back corner.
Taylor Leach to serve. Ooh, good hard serve from such a tiny person. Wasn't expecting that at all as Taylor Leach just lowered the boom on that ball.
Yeah, she geared back and took a swing at that one, and it paid off dividends for her.
Nickel getting that ball to Brew, who sends it over. HVC, 3 hits, they get it back from the back of their court. Punched over by Brew. And now they set up for the big hit there. Jaden Sukachev, but just a bit too much heat on it. 12-8, 4-point lead still intact for BVC. Sent over the net by Huber. BVC tries to send it back. Taylor Nolan looked to put some gas on that, but just off the tape. 12-9, 3-point lead for BVC. Heading over to serve is Erica Nickel. Nickel puts that ball into play. Played by Friesen. Leach grabs it. And Friesen just off the tape trying to ride the razor's edge on the top of the net there, and 13-19 the score.
Yeah, she tried to tried to make the tough shot and really go slow and hard over the net, and just unfortunately just a little too low.
Sent over the net by Sukichov. And BVC just unable to corral that ball at the net. HVC never falling behind really by more than 4, but unable to bite into that 3-point lead as Head buries the ball. Good dig, and diving for that is Petrus, Logan Petrus. Tipped over the net by BVC. HVC chases. And they set up Head. Head blocked by Annika Huber. And 13-11. Now the lead just 2 for BVC as HVC looks to get back into things. Annika Huber to serve. And a good serve by Huber that BVC doesn't have an answer for. And the deficit now for HVC is just 1 point. Baller. Brew, Head, into the net. And we're all knotted up at 13.
Yeah, the HVC is doing a good job of keeping their serves in and keeping their attacks in. Last couple points, BVC's just made errors and put the ball into the net.
Leach, and that was tipped over the net by Addison Chapman. Hit over by Nolan. And good net play there by Janae Head off of a green body. 14-13 now, 1 point lead for BVC in the far court in the purple trim. Brew will serve. Olivia Brew's made some good plays at the net. Brew sends that to the back, played nicely by Leach. And trying to get that over the net was Logan Petrus, but HVC unable to recover, and the lead is now 2 for BVC. HVC, triple ball rules. Coach will throw it in to Leach. They try and set up Friesen, however that set kind of went amok. And 16-13, 3-point lead now for BVC. Now the Battleford's coach will toss to Nickel. Nolan, Head. Back of the court to Leach. And sent over by Sukichov. Nice play to dig that out by the Battlefords. Sukichov again. Good job by Ballner. Sukichov sends it over. And the point is going to go the way of the Battlefords on the call by the referee on that carry. 17-13 now lead. And a timeout being called now by HVC as they trail 17-13 and down 1-0.
Yeah, really nice dig there by Olivia Brew in the back row there. Really set up that point. You don't see too many digs at this level, so anytime you do get to see one, it's amazing to see.
Really well dug ball, as you mentioned. 13U girls final. BVC out of the Battlefords, HVC out of Saskatoon. After this game, HVC gets to go right home to their beds in Saskatoon. Battlefords with an hour-long drive down the Highway 16. It would be that much happier a drive with gold medals around their necks. They're 8 points away from doing so. 17-13 lead. And a 1-0 lead here in the 13U girls final. It's come down to these two teams. Addison Chapman serving for HVC. Her team down 4. Chapman. Underhand serve. Head with it. And that's helped over the net by Maya Lavalley. And no answer on the HVC side. And 18-13 the lead. Tipped over by Nolan. Sukichov hits it. Teams battle at the net. Baller with it. Setting up that third hit. Head hits it. And Annika Huber had that one hit right at her. She got underneath it, but her setter couldn't dig it out. So 19-13 the score. It'll get tossed to Huber now. Sukichev. And sends that over to Logan Petrus, who gets it over. 3 hits. Head with it. Just a bit outside. And 19-14. Taylor Nolan to serve for the Battlefords. Nolan serves. Oh, that ball riding the razor's edge. Looked a little sideways and awkward coming out of her hand, but it landed in the right spot.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I don't really think she was trying to hit that line, but there's no pictures on the scorecard, as they say in golf. So, point BVC.
Looking for 3 hits now is HVC. That's sent over by Petras. Played at the back of the court, and 3 hits. Baller with it. Oh! Put some heat on that ball. The lead is now 7. 21-14 BVC.
Taking a swing. Love to see that. Not getting nervous at the end of sets. Really being comfortable and free swinging out there. Really fun to see.
HVC. Friesen sends it over. Unable to get to that ball in time is Erica Nickel. And 21-16, or 21-15 rather. Don't fire up the band just yet. Jaden Sukachov to serve. Played by Baller. Back on the HVC side of the net. Leach. Big hit by Leach. And point going the way of HVC. 21-16. Brew. Head. Baller. Keeps it in bounds. Kalnia Baller making her presence felt. Delivers another strong hit. HVC gets it over to Taylor Leach. Leach with a strong game for the Huskies. And Lavalley just unable to tip that over the net. 22-18, BVC leads it. Janae Head to serve. Head induces play. Swing and a miss inbounds. Ace for Head. 23-17 the score.
Yeah, no, what a great serve. Just floated away from Annika Huber there and just found the seam and found the floor.
Leach will push that to the back of the court. Nolan plays it. Lavalley. Baller. Doesn't quite tip it over the net. Not done yet here. 23-19 the score, or 23-18 rather. BVC, one of their coaches, gets it to Nolan. Nolan to Head. Baller sends it over. Friesen. Leach pushes it. Nickel. Lavalley. Baller off the net. Recovered by HVC. Too many hits. 24-18. Championship point.
Great hustle by HVC on that play, but BVC was just able to find the floor.
It will be Emma Friesen serving to try and keep her team alive, trailing 24-18, down 1-0. Friesen, Baller, Lavalley, Baller, buries it, and that'll do it. BVC, the team from the Battlefords, strikes gold in the city that shines. What was the difference for BVC in this one?
Yeah, it was a great match by both teams. I think BVC just came with a little bit more energy and a little bit more. Their execution was just a little bit more cleaner than HVC's. But it was a great match played by both teams, and they were both scrappy. But BVC just had the little bit extra today that pushed them over the top.
BVC from the Battlefords wins it in 2 sets.